We will start with 7.2, consideration of requesting Armstrong Consultant to provide a Lampson Field Airport expansion conceptual plan. Supervisor Sabatier.
Thank you very much. This is a topic that I've been kind of going back and forth with Director De Leon, I want to say for the last 4 years, trying to see what the airport land use committee, because I've been on that for a while, but we haven't had the chance to meet. There's been there's a lot going on in that department, and so we just have not been able to meet. That maybe hasn't been a reason to meet. Land use is very specific, but I know that we have limitations on our airport. When we were going through the process, sorry to go kind of around full circle, but when we were going through the process for the Maha project, I remember speaking with the project manager that they were renting a hangar in Sacramento and that they really would love to have something more local. Then I know that there's a couple of businesses that are not able to use it because of the inability for larger planes to access it. And then in my conversations with our fire districts and hospitals about transport for patients, it was brought up on the vast difference between a helicopter ride and a fixed wing flight. The cost is almost 30%, if not even lower than that, for the fixed wing flight. And so that was something of interest. And so I had a conversation with Director De Leon. I knew that we had our Armstrong Consultant that had been already acquired by the county, and looked to see what is their part that they can play to help us understand what the plan is. We don't have a plan. We have infrastructure money for local airports that is going to become available. And without a plan, there's no way we're going to be able to access those infrastructure funds for the airports, and those are soon to be released. There's other grant opportunities as well. So what's in front here is just, are we interested in asking Armstrong to do a plan? If the answer is yes, then Director De Leon would come back with a supplemental service agreement that requests specifically for Armstrong Consultant to look at what would it take to have an airport where you can land using instruments, where now you can land at night, you could land in bad weather, and that way that can help potentially create access to CAL FIRE, create access to fixed wing medical flights, and other larger planes as well to be able to access that. And so just wanted to bring this to the board. I do want to provide an apology to Supervisor Green. I slipped and said something to Chair Pyska about airports, and so I had already compartmentalized myself to not being able to speak to you. But this is a airport that serves the entire county, not just a specific district. And again, no action is being taken today other than consensus and direction to staff. The details, Armstrong Consultant did provide a potential cost summary and a potential scope for doing this. That doesn't mean that what we say yes to today is exactly what's there. That will be in the details of the supplemental service agreement when that comes back to us.
Vice Chair Simon?
Yeah, I just obviously support the idea, using the Lampson, but my request would be if we're gonna do it and really look for the infrastructure, we've been limited at the airport. I've heard many conversations here at the board level through the community talking about it. If we're going to do one, I would rather it be the entire county. Maybe the airport we build isn't at Lampson. Maybe the airport we need to build is in a different part of the county or a different opportunity. I know line of sight, other things. I'm not a pilot, but these are just some of the concerns that have been brought up. CAL FIRE, a great one, as you said, whether a helicopter or plane. Helicopters can't fly in some of the inclement weather. The fixed wings can land if we have the opportunity for that. So my only consideration would be, if we're going to do it, looking for infrastructure dollars, that we really look at the entire county. Is there an option here for an airport in Lake County? I think that's a big time infrastructure future growth need for us. We got our neighbors in Sonoma County expanding and other things, but that's still a 45-minute drive. There are plenty of folks from Lake County that drive to Santa Rosa or San Francisco or Sacramento to get out, to get out of here, but that little commute time, that would be my only request. In support of this, but I really think if we're spending the dollars, we really look at the opportunities that may lay out there that haven't been fully vetted with all these infrastructure dollars. So that would be it, but I do support this.
I appreciate the addition. I'm not sure what that does to the overall cost summary, but why pigeonhole ourselves to one specific area? Because maybe it'll cost $50 million to do that expansion versus whatever else cheaper to do it somewhere else. So I don't know what that looks like, but I think that's a good concept to ask them to not only look at what we have, but where else it could be.
Supervisor Green?
Yeah, I would, I see the scope of work as it's presented. And if we were kind of, and my question to you, Director De Leon, yesterday was like, what do we know about in terms of a master plan? Are we talking about just filling in the blanks for an airport that continues to have needs in its current iteration that may be eligible for infrastructure dollars? To Supervisor Simon's point, a needs analysis that may go outside just being focused on Lampson may be appropriate. Fixed wing is cheaper, but if we're just fixed wing to an airport and they're doing ground transport, IFT, if you will, to another facility, those costs have to be looked at. So the scope of work is fine as far as it goes, but this company has a lot of expertise. Airport master plans is within their realm of expertise. I think doing needs assessments is probably within their realm of expertise. So although this is presented as kind of an infrastructure-y engineering proposal, I do like taking a broader look at things. I don't know how much we can get out of that current site. When they put it there, they knew that it had some inherent limitations as far as takeoffs and landings, but for the size of the facility as it was envisioned at the time, probably fine. So one question would be, how do we update it? How do we make sure it continues to be appropriate for those uses? But times change and our needs change. I'm not a big fan of the build it and they will come in terms of air tanker bases or helicopters or even fixed wing medical aircraft. So as part of the needs assessment, maybe a referral to Emergency Medical Care Committee would be appropriate so they can at least be contacted during the scope of work that ultimately is approved here. So I guess my request would be, I love this as far as it goes. I agree with Supervisor Simon, it could go farther into kind of a needs assessment for aviation for our community as a whole. Probably the bulk of that will end up at Lampson Field, but there may be opportunities for other things we can look at. So thank you for bringing this forward. No harm, no foul about getting looped out at that. But my suggestions would be at some appropriate time, let's get our first responders involved and get their understanding about the needs and the benefits that we could do by expanding services, commuter aircraft, commutes to the Bay Area and stuff like that. Supervisor Simon mentioned that's also an important aspect of this. So there is a master plan, a moldy-oldie master plan at the airport, and like many master plans of that age, it covers what it covers, but it doesn't cover what we have here. So this is good. This is kind of an infrastructure-based. I would say kind of a master plan update might be a more fruitful use of that money. And I think hopefully our infrastructure dollars would cover that kind of advanced planning, if you will, before we get into the weeds about what specific projects we need to engineer and where.
Director De Leon, do you have anything to add?
Good morning, Scott De Leon, Public Works Director. No, I'm hearing and looking forward to some consensus and some direction. I do think that they are two separate, the two things you've brought up here are two separate proposals, and I would actually ask Armstrong to separate them. One to be look at Lampson in basically the format that they've provided, and it's schematic in nature. It's a planning tool. It's something that you could use to say, okay, here are the impacts, the ramifications, and is it suitable to do this work? Because with the additional length of the runway, you need to be considering the width of clear space and other things. And so it's a pretty complicated analysis. I would actually ask them to do that and in addition provide a proposal to do a countywide needs assessment or a countywide assessment of potential locations that could be considered. They are a very good and competent planning and engineering firm for airports, and I'm confident that they could do both of the projects that you've mentioned this morning.
Okay, that sounds good, and then we'll have an idea of cost when it comes back.
And I'm good at looking at that as two separate things as well. One of the reasons also to bring this is, to me, I see our airport's limitations as being a hinder to our potential economic development that the airport can provide for the entire county, whether that's being able to fly out with products and use that as a shipping ground, or whether that's to bring in materials or bring in stuff. So I think there's a lot of parts that comes together after the fact, but if we can't expand it, if we can't make it instrument approach airport, then at that point, yeah, we do need to look at other places and whatnot. So two different things I'm in favor of.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this? We're not seeing anybody in the Zoom room? All right, so I think we have direction for you. Consensus? Yes? Okay, thank you.